Hello, I am Jeremy Beck and I am the choreographer and director of Commentary of Dreaming. Commentary of Dreaming started as a existential crisis that I kind of faced in my late 20s. I was introduced to a concept called Saturn Returns, which is a concept of astrology and talks about the celestial orbit of Saturn. So Saturn returns happens a couple of times in your life, as it's every 27 years. And the first one that I'm focusing on, or I'm interested in for this work, is the first cycle, which is the death or departure of your youth and your rebirth into adulthood. In terms of Saturn returns, I see as like a conscious event where you kind of catch up with the momentum of your youth and find yourself in a position of deciding who you want to be going forward in life and looking back on the habits and memories that you've accumulated so far. So this conscious process for me is a communication between two states of being, which is your conscious processing self and then your subconscious self. And Commentary of Dreaming looks at the accumulation of memories, being conscious memories and subconscious memories or dream states.
Jeremy's kind of like blurting out all his creative ideas and his visions, and sometimes it's like processing as he's talking. So then I'm trying to sort of distill that down to kind of the key core ideas to then help translate that back to the dancers to make movement or like have key qualities in their performance.
The work holds itself around my upbringing in Dunedin, as I spent my youth here, and is embedded throughout the work. Me bringing even 15 of my high school friends into the work to perform with us.
G'day, I'm Kane.
Hey, I'm Diego.
Hey, I'm Daniel. I'm an electrician by day, and I've got a wee bit in the show where I'm putting my sparky skills to test.
I'm lucky to have such a good group of friends who are keen to support and jump on, and that really enhances the work, having their presence in there. The work is set under a solitary lamppost. This is referencing memories from my youth, walking home after late nights with my friends and finding yourself alone and on the mission. And there's a core memory where I'd be walking home, and Dunedin is very silent and very cold at night, and you don't get much traffic, and you'd stop in the middle of the street under a light, and you'd just kind of stop and catch your breath. And you'd look around, and it'd be a bit surreal, this landscape. It was so quiet and so still, and I used to just stand there and listen to my heart and breathe. And this is an essence that I've really tried to embed in the work. And the work, although it has its concepts, is almost like the actions of a Friday night at 3 a.m. in Dunedin, mixed with this memory and dreamscapes and characters who are all in this conscious state of processing. This is just our location, not the location. It's a transitional space that you can pass through, but it's one of many. So in that way, we observe the performer's decision to stay as opposed to their inability to leave.
So when I was writing the music for the show, Jeremy would often just give me like kind of interesting prompts. So Jemima's solo, which is like one of my favorite tracks in the show, the prompt was, it needs to feel like a massive body, like a planet-sized ball of energy is approaching from the distance. So it's going to be this really slow, heavy build. It turned into one of my favorite tracks. Every time I listen to it, I can't actually remember how I made it. I know I performed it live on some tape machines, but yeah, it was all improvised and it came out amazing.
It's always been a thing that, because I'm from Dunedin and the work is based in Dunedin, I always wanted the sound and the set to feel cold. I think me and Benny really enjoy the search, and when we find it, which we always do, it's always so much more than we both thought it could be.
Jeremy's inside the work. I think it's good that he can push towards his vision and his aesthetics. He can be fully in, but when he has someone outside, he can be a bit assured that he's not just in his own head, but have some feedback.
The work itself references a couple of modes of thinking about consciousness and subconscious bodies, including views of Western philosophy, of Carl Jung and dream analysis, and also more Eastern ideas of attaining enlightenment in some ways. An investigation about attaining enlightenment through dance or something, and letting go of language. And I feel like the subconscious, being the emotional body, has been a huge driver for the work for me. And finding yourself in a conscious state of processing where you're wanting to let go of language and feel and sense and be more in the present moment.
My preferences are through, I guess, creating shapes, building shapes, moving shapes, tracing, and all these things. I think there's a bit of magic in that, where you can draw the line and then create the line for myself to see and for others to see.
Trying to plan a future, or like building a future, or looking forward into adulthood, but kind of wanting to stay young, or like getting sucked into being immature or being like playful or something.
I like to think of commentary as a physical commentary or a processing. This kind of idea of physical commentary, of dance being the commentary of a concept. I think I just like that language, that it's a commentary on your thought process, or dance as a language to be used for commentary. One of the biggest parts of the subconscious is your dream states, and they are embedded throughout your life. Most of my core memories as a child, I think, are my childhood dreams. And even now as an adult, I dream of places that I inhabited in my youth. There are two ways you can talk about a dream. Like I can say I had a dream last night, or I can say that I dreamed that I'd make a dance show. Oh, well, it's always been a dream of mine to make a dance show in Dunedin. Not a literal dream, but it's always been a dream. I also work completely off intuition. So the best way I can find out what to do is to try it in my body, and if it feels right or doesn't feel right, I'll often make a lot of the movement myself, especially in the big group scenes, and I also find that this gives it a really definitive kind of style.
It feels like we've got all the pieces of the puzzle that are necessary for the work, and I think it's just working together now to find which pieces are relevant for this version of the work.
I was really interested in having a bit of age representation in the work as well. So Kilda, I brought on Kilda because I think she's almost in her second stage of Saturn Returns. Well, she's encroaching on her third, which is actually just pure wisdom, where you've kind of clocked it.
I am being that generation sort of from the past, or the distant. I actually approached Jeremy because I was inspired by the showing I saw, and he was talking about Saturn and Saturn Returns and the turmoil that comes from all of that.
Yep.
But then I was inspired by the involvement of the community, and then hearing that Harrison, his nephew, was going to be involved in it was...
So,
yeah.
But then there's also my nephew, Harrison, who be performing in the work as well.
Hi, I'm Jeremy's nephew and I'm going to be performing in the show.
and give me your name.
Harry.
He looks very similar to pictures of me when I was young. There were a couple of things I wanted to achieve in the work over the years, and they're still in here. And one of them was to complete my first dance as an adult, and the work being a departure from the way I would dance. And at the end of the work, I'd step onto stage and have a completely improvised solo, and that would be me as my first dance. There was a conscious decision to try and get as many people in the performance kind of the age where they would connect with the concept, especially the Saturn Returns and that kind of late traumatic stage of your 20s and entering your 30s. There are exceptions to this, which is Jemima, who's one of the younger performers, but it's nice to have someone in the work who's just fully going ham on the youth, and to have that youthful abandonment in the work is just awesome.
I found that movement in like a long durational improv, which was like for 20 minutes, and yeah, it was about indulgence and pleasure, and like that move just feels really nice for me, and I feel like I could just keep like digging, like chipping away at how far I could kind of take it, and even when I felt like I've gotten to the extreme, I feel like there's even more I can get to, just quite nice.
When I was 6 years old, my mum first took me to a ballet show, and I sat down in the stalls in the Regent Theatre and watched this massive show. To be bookending that now with my own show, me on stage performing in the Regent Theatre, and having my nephew, who was essentially my age, there witnessing it as well, like I don't know, it just goes full circle for me. Like I hope I make a lot more work, but I'll never forget making this work. I don't know if it'll ever go anywhere after this. I hope it will, but even if it doesn't, I think that just this one night on the stage is going to be well, it's definitely going to be a core memory.